everyone, it's Liz of Consume My Books. I know you guys haven't seen me in a while. I've been having a lot of computer problems and I'm still working through some of those. So that's why I haven't been making and posting videos. But Misty of the Book Rat and Allison of the Allura Books wanted me to make a haul of the books I got at ALA Annual, which I attended this summer. So I thought I would go ahead and do that. I won't be doing a full summary video just because I think that would be easier to write out in a post because so much awesomeness happened. But I am going to show you guys the books I got, so you'll hear a little bit about what I did while I was at the conference. I'm going to start by showing you the signed finished copies that I purchased. I got Where Things Come Back, which is by John Corey Wally, and he signed it for Liz, Glad to Know You're Human. So I ran into Jordan of 10-cent Notes shortly before meeting Corey Wally, and we walked over to the signing table, and I was getting up there. I was pulling my camera out of my bag, and I was like, oh, I've got to get it out. And Corey Wally was like, oh my God, what's she getting out? Does she have a gun? He was saying this to Jordan. And I was like trying to show him my ID to be like, oh, look, I Facebooked you. And he's like, why are you showing me your badge? Am I the police? And I was like, no, because I'm trying to prove I'm a human. So that's why he wrote that. And what I said probably did not make any sense. But in my defense, I had landed at about 11 p.m. the night before, and I flew through all of the time zones in America to get to ALA, so. But I got a signed copy of Corey's awesome book, and I love this paperback. I also love the hardcover too, which I have and can't give up. So I'm gonna have 2 copies of this awesome book now. Next up, I got a copy of Shadow and Bone, which is by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh wrote To Liz, Steel is Earned. I've already read this one. I had to take 2 3-hour flights home from ALA, and I finished both of the books I was working on my way home, so I wound up starting this one. I liked it. I wasn't in love with it, but I thought that the writing and the world were good. So, glad I got to meet Leigh. I got Beautiful Chaos by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I won't show you their signatures because they just wrote To Liz. I have read Beautiful Creatures, but not Beautiful Darkness. However, this was only $5 and the line was really short. Plus they had cool swag like pens and bookmarks, so I couldn't pass this opportunity up. This is actually a finished copy that I did not buy because it was free with the signing, but it is A Farewell to Charms, which is by Lindsay Levitt. And she wrote, Princess Liz, Be Charming, Lindsay Levitt. I do have a copy of Lindsay's first book, Princess for Hire, which I haven't read, but because the book was free, and again, she had a short signing line, I decided to get in it because I have been talking to Lindsay on Twitter for a very long time, so I came up to her and I was like, oh, hey, I'm Liz Pat Anders on Twitter, and she was like, yes, I recognize you, it's good to meet you in person. So that was a really great experience, and I'm excited to finally start this series. Seriously, I can use some light, fun reading. Next up is a copy of Second Chance Summer, which is by Morgan Matson. Met her right after meeting Corey Wally, and she wrote To Liz, All the Best. I have not yet read Amy and Roger's Epic Detour or this one, but this one has been getting rave reviews from everybody. So I thought, hey, I'm here, the book is cheap, why not pick it up? And my last signed finished copy, I wasn't going to buy this one because I already have a copy, which is going to someone else now. But I saw the author's signing and I could not say no. It's Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler and Myra Coleman. And Myra drew an umbrella and Daniel Handler wrote, Liz, Liz, hello, hello. And he dated it with Roman numerals, which I just think is kind of amazing. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. It's fantastic, and I loved the series of unfortunate events growing up. Daniel Handler is also Lemony Snicket. So I bought a signed copy of this. And I also got to go to the Prince ceremony later that evening where Daniel and Myra sang the most amazing song and Daniel played the accordion. It was awesome! And now I have this signed! Fangirl! As you can tell. Yeah, so geeked about that. Let's let's talk about the signed ARCs that I got. Throne of Glass, which is by Sarah J. Maas. This is a fantasy novel, and she wrote To Liz, Enjoy. And I'm really excited to read this one because it's been getting great reviews. I met Maggie Stiefvater for the second time. She came to Minnesota as part of her Forever tour when I was still there. So I got the Raven Boys, and she signed this for me on my way out to ALA, and I finished this on the plane ride home. I was reading the Scorpio races, so this was a finished copy I had before, and she signed this one. Now, I have yet to read The Raven Boys or Forever, but you guys, this book is amazing. This is probably my new favorite Maggie Stiefvater book. It has gone onto my favorites shelf. It is so good. You have got to pick this up if you have not already. I love it. It's just so good. The world is amazing. Anyways, Personal Effects, which is by E.M. Koike. Sorry, E.M. To Liz, I hope you enjoy the journey. This is about a boy whose brother dies in Iraq, which sounds like a really interesting premise, so I'm very eager to check this out. This one I'm really excited about, and there was a huge line for it, but I persevered. Cruel, which is by Jennifer Allman. I love this cover. This is so pretty. And she wrote Liz, remember who you are, Jennifer Allman. And she has a lovely signature. I don't know how well you can see that, but lovely. I got a copy of Eve and Adam, which is by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate signed. This one is not personalized, so I won't show you the signature, but it sounds good. And the last signed book I got, I guess this should have actually been at the finished copies, is The Summer of No Regrets, which is by Catherine Grace Bond. She wrote, Liz, thanks for championing teens. So I'm eager to check this one out. And let's talk about some of the other ARCs that I got, because there are some really good things in this pile. Timepiece by Myra McIntyre. This one is technically already out. I enjoyed Hourglass when I read it. I wasn't one of those people who was head over heels in love with it, but I am excited for this one. And it's written from a different perspective, which I think will be really interesting. Small Damages by Beth Kephart. Actually, one of the reviews that persuaded me to pick this up was the one that Jordan posted on 10-cent Notes. It is about a pregnant teenage girl who is sent away to Spain, so it looks great. The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell, which is by Chris Colfer. So I saw people posting pictures of Chris Colfer at BEA, and I was like, I don't know what he's doing there. And I picked this up at ALA just because it sounded good, and later I was like, oh, it's Chris Colfer, like Chris Colfer from Glee. Oh. So, we'll see how this is. Chris Colfer, I'm not going to go easy on you just because I like your character on what I have seen of Glee, which is, by the way, only the first 2 seasons. I've heard it goes really downhill after that. Next up, Embers and Echoes, which is by Karsten Knight. I have Wildfire, it's right there. I plan on reading it soon, and then I can dive right into this one. Very excited about that. Beautiful Lies, which is by Jessica Warman. This one is about a series of unusual twins, and that's about all I can tell you about it, but it sounds fantastic. Rift, which is by Andrea Kremer. This is the prequel to the Nightshade series. I have yet to read Blood Rose, but you can bet that I'll be diving into this one shortly afterwards. I have really been wanting to read Blood Rose, it's just that school has seriously cut back on my fun reading, so sooner or later I will get to it and then read this, which looks lovely. Carnival of Souls by Melissa Marr. I've not really read any of Melissa Marr's work, so I don't know much about her, but this looked interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a chance and we'll see what I think. The Lost Girl, which is by Sangu Mandana, I believe is how it's said. I'm not sure that I can really explain the summary for this one, but it sounds fascinating. We got one from Penguin here, Summer and Bird by Catherine Catmull. I really enjoy this cover. I think it's very cute. There's another one from Scholastic, Skinny, which is by Donna Cooner. I think that this one somehow ties in with performance, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out. We'll see if I'm right or not. Lucid by Adrian Stoltz and Ron Bass. The back of this one says that you will probably like it if you enjoyed Lauren Oliver's Before I Fall, which I did. And just to give you guys the first line of the summary, what if you could dream your way into a different life? That sounds really good to me. I hope it lives up. Next up, Sapphire Blue by Kirsten Gear. Don't you love this cover? I really hope that this means that they are planning to stick with this design for book 2, because they've kind of got the girl from book 1 on there, but I think that this really makes these books stand out on the shelves. I really enjoyed Ruby Red. I hope to review it fairly soon on the blog. But yeah, this ought to be fantastic, and I cannot wait to read it. Here's one I picked up from Flex, Beautiful Music for Ugly Children, which is by Kristen Cron Mills. Kelly of Stacked Books, I should say, actually told me that this one was really good, and I was like, that's a relief, because I have already picked up a copy. And this one deals with a kid who is, I believe it's transgender and not transsexual. I will look more closely and see if I can provide a more specific word in the annotation. If not, then you'll just have to wait until I read it. Pinned, which is by Sharon G. Flake. This is about a female wrestler and a boy in a wheelchair, and I believe the idea is that they're either friends or they're dating. I don't remember which at this point. It's late at night, guys. School does crazy things to my brain. Time Between Us, which is by Tamara Ireland Stone, and this one is from Disney Hyperion. Excited to check this out. The Venge Keep Prophecies, which is by Brian Fari. I hope I said that last name correctly. This sounds like an amazing middle grade fantasy. Oh, this guy lives in St. Paul. Cool. It's near where my parents are. And I believe that Brett Hillquist might be editing this book, because I thought I saw that on Goodreads. I will try and confirm or deny that. Next up, one I'm really excited about, The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I read Alex's first book, Brightly Woven, and it is excellent. It's very well written, fantastic young adult fantasy. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be exactly dystopian, but it sounds like it has kind of that feel. Another one, Falling Kingdoms, which is by Morgan Rhodes. This is another one from Penguin. And when they were giving it to me, they said, yeah, this one is supposed to appeal to fans of Game of Thrones. And I have not read Game of Thrones yet. I will be reading it soon. But I do like fantasy, so I decided to give this one a shot. Next up, one that I'm really excited about, The Archived by Victoria Schwab. So I have not read The Near Witch yet. I meant to read it as soon as it came out, and it just kept getting bumped back. But I'm going to tackle it this summer and then read this one. They both sound seriously amazing, and I love this cover. I think it's wonderful. Plus Victoria seems really awesome on Twitter. Next up, and I got to meet Ruta very briefly, Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. I didn't actually get this one signed because I picked up this arc on Saturday and her signing was Sunday. but I love Between Shades of Grey. It's fantastic, so I'm really excited to read this one. And lastly, I'm going to finish up with a few miscellaneous finished copies that I picked up throughout the weekend. There's only 4, so don't worry, we're almost done. With or Without You, which is by Brian Farry, and this is a Stonewall Honor book. So I'm excited to see how this is. I've actually heard that it's really depressing, but it's supposed to be good, so we'll give it a shot. Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. I love Sharon Creech. Can't wait to read this one. Need I say more? Plus, it's in verse. This is going to take me not much time at all to read. And sometimes you just want a book that you can read in one sitting. So this will be a great book for when I have one of my moods. The Pregnancy Project, which is by Gabby Rodriguez. This has not been getting the greatest reviews. Not so much. So we'll have to see how it is and if it's actually any good. I have my doubts, but it's such an interesting premise that I'm going to give it a shot at least. Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer, Between the Lines. This is Jodi Picoult's first young adult novel, and to be honest, once you've read one of Jodi Picoult's adult novels, you've kind of read them all, but you know this is going to be huge. A lot of libraries are probably going to be buying this for their teen sections, maybe even their adult sections, and guess what? It's probably going to circulate really highly. So I do feel that this is something that I should at least try to read, even if I don't make it through the whole thing. So, those are the books that I got at ALA. I had a wonderful time. I met so many great bloggers and authors. It was a great experience, and you can be looking for a full summary up on the blog sometime relatively soon. Until I see you guys next time, happy reading and DFTBA!